Hey everybody, welcome back to Cinematically Late, the series dedicated to movies that I may have missed for whatever reason. Today we are talking about an animated movie that, to be quite honest, I had zero interest in, and I finally decided to give it a shot as it's on HBO Max. And it actually ended up being kind of a fun movie, and that is Spies in Disguise, starring Tom Holland and Will Smith. Now before we get started, I do want to mention that I am currently on the road to 300 subscribers, hoping to get there by the end of the year. I need 8 more people to help join me and subscribe. So if you guys are watching this for the first time, if you feel like you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button as well as hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Now let's go ahead and get back into Spies in Disguise. So this movie is essentially Will Smith being Will Smith as a super spy and Tom Holland being Tom Holland as a nerd, and they're just animated and they happen to cross paths and kind of meet each other. Will Smith gets turned into a pigeon and a bunch of things ensue, as do happen in animated movies. But that's pretty much the gist of this one. It's not bad. It's kind of a fun premise once you sort of get into it. Very James Bond-esque, it's kind of mishmashes several different genres, including Men in Black, which stars Will Smith. But for the most part, it's actually kind of a fun movie. And with that, let's go ahead and jump right into it, which is the first point that I want to make, is that the characterizations of Will Smith's character and of Tom Holland's character are identical to what I perceive them to be. Will Smith is very much that sort of cocky, done it all type of guy, super spy, secret agent who's seen and done everything, and he's good at what he does. He's very cocky about it. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Tom Holland is more of the on the reserve side, very quiet, but very smart and able to do a lot of sciencey things. Both very much play to type in this movie, and not that that's a bad thing, but it mainly concerns me in Tom Holland's aspect, as he's already done that several times, especially considering his role as Spider-Man, also as like the Onward movie, the Disney original or Disney Pixar movie, whatever you want to call it, Onward, that he did. It's basically that same character, but in a different format. I hope that he can evolve past that. I know he can. I've seen him do other things like The Devil All the Time, where he's absolutely phenomenal. But I just hope he can get out of that type sooner than later. But for the most part, it's actually pretty fun. It feels different enough that you enjoy it, but you definitely get the subtle nuances to a lot of other movies that it references. And while we're on the topic of playing to type, the villain, played by Ben Mendelsohn, very much follows along that. And this is going to be point number 2, which, speaking of the villain's not that great. It's actually kind of bad and boring and bland. For the most part, I kind of forgot he was there unless he was mentioned or showed up. For the most part, this is very much a movie centered on Tom Holland and Will Smith's characters, and the villain is just sort of lackluster. There's really no story behind why he's doing what he's doing. There's a very weak answer to that, but if they would have had a little bit better draw between the villain and the main characters, and maybe a connection and a history, I think it would have made it a lot more impactful in terms of story. But for the most part, it's just sort of a blasé villain that's easily forgettable. So I'm hoping that if there is a sequel, and likely there will be, based on the end of this movie, I think that they need to sort of develop a villain that's actually going to make sense for them to be able to have to fight, and not necessarily just make it, oh, we have to use the trope that we've set up in the main premise of this movie in order to beat that villain. There was no connection there, and it fell really flat. And Ben Mendelsohn has been a villain several times. I mean, he's played in the Marvel movies, he's done Ready Player One. He knows the villain role. He's very much typecast in it as well. I think this is probably one of the most typecast movies I've ever seen. For the most part, I think that he can do that role in a menacing way, but for a lot of the times that I've seen him do it lately, it just kind of falls flat, and the villain is so forgettable in this. I wish there was more there. And I guess the last and final thing that I really want to talk about is the animation style. At the beginning, it didn't really draw me in. I felt like it was sort of just a blandish as well type of animation. I didn't feel like it really gave me much. It didn't give me a lot of depth. But the more I watched it, the more I realized this is the exact personification of these actors. And although Will Smith's character is a little bit more drawn to look like the bird version of himself, in terms of like his human version, he doesn't really look as much like Will Smith. But for the most part, Tom Holland's character looks mostly like Tom Holland, and I felt like they really tried to characterize that. For the most part, it's a lot of straight lines. It's very stylized. It doesn't feel like much is going on, but there's a part where they go to a resort that looks amazing. If they would have used that in sort of the textures to the movie, I feel like it would have been a little bit more impactful, but because it is so square, there's not a lot of feeling to it. I can't really connect with it as well. But when they do show those sort of environmental shots and a lot of things like that, that's where the animation really exceeds. I feel like just like the human characters, they were just a little too cartoonish where it never really drew me in to have that connection. And I think the story kind of hindered on that because it is so fantastic. It doesn't really feel like these would be real people in a real situation. It just, look at how absurd this situation is and how are they going to get out of it. It's a very middle of the road movie, but for the most part I enjoyed it and I would recommend watching it. I recommend everybody give a try to everything, but I think this was one that you have to give a try to. You may like it, you may not, but for the most part it's going to be middle of the road for me. So those are pretty much my thoughts on Spies in Disguise. I don't really have much else to say about it. If you guys have seen the movie, make sure you let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. Also, while you're down there, like I mentioned before, if you did like this video, leave a thumbs up. As well as hit that subscribe button, as I am trying to get to 300 followers or subscribers by the end of the year. I need your help to do it, so I would greatly appreciate that. Also, I have some great news to announce. I'm going to be part of a new group called AAC, Animated Apparel Company, who are going to be working with and be making some videos for upcoming, so make sure to go check out their channel. I'll leave the link in the description, as well as at the end of this video, as well as in the corner up here if you want to check that out. I don't know if I pointed the right corner up that way, up above me somewhere. There'll be a link there if you guys want to check them out as well. Super awesome guys, a lot of great content coming there. So if you want, like my channel, I'll be on their channel as well, upcoming in the future. I'm also working on some other stuff for them, so make sure you subscribe to them as well. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one.